Hey everyone, today I'm going to be ranking all 11 Hellraiser movies. I know the new one's been out for a while, but at that point I hadn't seen all of them, so I figured I should catch up on the rest of the franchise before I actually ranked them all. So, here we are. As always, spoiler alert. Alrighty. Starting off, my number 11 is Hellraiser Hellworld. This movie is just so bland, and it goes against pretty much everything Hellraiser stands for. You have Lance fucking Henriksen being absolutely wasted in the role of a man seeking revenge against the people he holds responsible for his son's death. Like, don't get me wrong, that is a role he could easily play, but the way it's written just doesn't work. Not only was his son's death a suicide, but the people he's holding accountable were his friends, including a young Henry Cavill. So throughout the movie, these kids are being tormented by the Cenobites. Except then it's revealed that the Cenobites aren't real, and Lance Henriksen buried them alive, and they've all just been hallucinating that shit. Oh, except, surprise, the Cenobites are real, and they kill Lance Henriksen.
Welcome to hell.
This is not happening.
Seeing is believing. I should have come for you a long time ago.
Hellworld. There's no Hellworld. It doesn't exist.
Your son was quite the prodigy. He opened the gateway to hell. But you never believed yourself, did you?
I haven't even gotten to the technical aspects yet. They're bad. This is the third of 3 Hellraiser movies that were directed by Rick Boda, and it's the worst of the bunch. Out of all the Hellraiser movies, this one feels the least like a Hellraiser. It feels like a generic slasher movie. I mean, it completely misses the point of the Cenobites and the lament configuration, the box. At one point, Pinhead literally kills someone with a meat cleaver. That's just no. Just no. And then, at the end, when Lance opens the box and the Cenobites reveal themselves to him, they just immediately kill him.
Gotta wake up. I gotta wake up. I gotta wake up. Wake up!
How's that for a wake-up call?
Like, no! You're completely missing the point. That's not how any of this works. Fuck this movie. My score is 1 out of 5. Number 10 is Hellraiser Dead. Stupid fucking title. This is the one with some weird cult that can apparently raise the dead, and it's a lot more boring than it sounds. This was also directed by Rick Boda, and overall it's just as bad as Hellworld. The only reason I have it ranked higher is because the acting is slightly better, and it feels slightly less generic.
It seems that evil does run in the family. Your lineage is that of a craftsman, a maker of toys. You should have stayed in the family business. I sacrificed my mortal self to that box.
It's mine now. Belongs to me.
But that's where you're wrong. Painfully wrong. We belong to it.
Can't hurt me.
You're not the first to say that. And you won't be the last.
It's still pretty boring, though. The writing is bad, the music is forgettable, and the cinematography and editing are adequate at best. My score is 1 out of 5. Number 9 is Hellraiser Revelations. Look, from a technical standpoint, this is easily the worst Hellraiser movie, but at least it actually feels like a Hellraiser movie. So, you know, that counts for something.
Birth is pain. Each nail, each new square of flesh ranges you further from the flesh and the existence you knew before.
The Cenobites have finally overcome their motive decay, and they're back to being pure sense freaks. The acting ranges from okay to awful. The cinematography and editing are subpar, and the found footage segment in the beginning is especially bad. That being said, the characters are more fleshed out than you might expect. It's not much, but it's something. There are some decent twists and turns. There were a handful of moments that I didn't see coming, so that was something. It still adds up to a shit sandwich, but it's not the worst thing ever. My score is 1.5 out of 5. Number 8 is Hellraiser Hellseeker. This one gets some points for bringing back Kirsty Cotton, although it loses points for recasting her. She's married to the Mayhem guy, so that's fun. Some of you may also know him as the Vulture.
It seems you've reached the end of your journey. I told you you couldn't run from your past forever. Eventually it catches up with you, and you must atone. And now, it is time for you to pay the price. You were willing to pay the price, weren't you?
I just want to see my wife.
In time.
Let me see my wife.
I said in time.
For some reason, this movie has pretty much the exact same twist as one of the previous sequels, which, you know, that's just lazy writing. This is the best of Rick Boda's Hellraiser movies, and that's not saying much. The acting is fine, I guess, but the characters are pretty flat, and even Kirsty's not all that likable in this one. I mean, she's the most likable character in this movie, but, you know, that's not saying much. The writing is bad, and the technical aspects are a mixed bag. My score is 1.5 out of 5. Number 7 is Hellraiser Judgment. Unlike Revelations, the new Pinhead in this movie is actually good. I was pleasantly surprised. And I mean, I don't hate the Pinhead from Revelations, but yeah, I didn't really like him all that much either. This one I actually liked. In fact, I like all the stuff with the Cenobites in this movie. The human stuff, not so much.
Who the fuck are you? What are you doing to me?
Yes, all valid questions.
What the fuck is going on?
Mr. Watkins, please assess your situation. Look at your environment. For now, you are merely captive, sitting tied to a chair. If we wanted you killed, you would be. We have simply invited you here to talk, to hear your thoughts and desires. Furthermore, if they are as interesting and illuminating as I believe them to be, then your reward will be beyond your belief.
A reward?
A reward tailored for a man of your particular tastes and desires.
You know about me. You know the things I've done?
It was that resume of yours that led us to you, and in turn, you to us.
Who are you?
Yes, perhaps a little illumination. Please, try not to be too alarmed.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Heavens, no. Same city, completely different zip code.
The only human character I liked was Detective Edgerton. She was perfectly fine. I liked her. That was about it. The cop plot's not awful, but it's pretty boring. It's revealed that one of the Detective Carters has been the serial killer the whole time, and I mean, that could have been a decent reveal, except I didn't really care. There was some foreshadowing for it, but it was all either too subtle to notice or too obvious to miss. Anyway, like I said, all the stuff with the Cenobites is cool. I like the conflict between Pinhead and whatever the angel's name was. That was actually kind of interesting. I wish we'd gotten more of that.
You know nothing of suffering. I welcome its warm embrace. I exist only to share its meaning. Sin and suffering are my dominion. Perhaps it's time you learned a little of the matters you seek to manage.
What are you doing? Do you know who I am?
I cannot. Irony.
This movie started off strong. The opening scene is pretty solid, because we get to see the Cenobites doing their thing. And then, yeah, it's kind of downhill from there, but there were some interesting parts. The score is 2 out of 5. Number 6 is Hellraiser Inferno. This is the one that was directed by Scott Derrickson, and you can see some of his trademark style here, but it's unfortunately wasted. This was the first of many sequels, like pretty much all the direct-to-video sequels, that started off as an unrelated project and then was changed into a Hellraiser movie partway through. Not the way to go when you're making a movie. The acting is decent enough, the writing is okay, the music is better than most of the other sequels. Mostly I just didn't really care. I mean, there was some cool stuff going on, but here's the thing, when you have a villain protagonist, you have to make sure they're interesting enough that the audience will care and, like, be invested in their actions. The Darth Bane book trilogy is a great example of that. This, not so much. This is the one that Hellseeker copied the twist from, and it's done slightly better here, so yeah, fuck you, Rick Boda.
It's all a puzzle, isn't it, Joseph? Like a game of chess, perhaps. The pieces move apparently aimlessly, but always towards one single objective: to kill the king. Who is the king in this game, Joseph? That is the question you must ask yourself. Don't you recognize your own flesh, your own spirit?
I don't understand.
The eternal refrain of humanity. Pleading ignorance, begging for mercy. Please help me. I don't understand. This is the life you chose, Joseph. All the people you hurt, all the appetites you indulged. You have destroyed your own innocence, allowed your flesh to consume your spirit.
I don't really have much to say about this one. It's whatever. My score is 2 out of 5. Number 5 is Hellraiser Bloodline. We have finally reached the start of the movies that I actually enjoy watching. This isn't a good movie, but it's at least entertaining to watch. That definitely counts for something. They do a good job of differentiating the 3 time periods from each other. The whole infinite light thing is complete bullshit, but I think the movie knows that and just doesn't care. Or at least I hope that's the case, because if they actually think this is legit, then they're idiots. The acting is pretty good. Doug Bradley is great as usual. Valentina Vargas is also very good. Adam Scott is also here, which is funny to me because I've always associated him with Parks and Rec. This movie is a mess, but the story we get is fairly interesting.
Oh, thank God.
John, don't!
Easy.
I don't know who or what you are, and I don't care. I just want my wife and my kid back!
Oh, I understand. Well, you love this boy. You have plans for him. Hopes and dreams. A whole imagined future where you love him and watch him grow.
Yes.
Then complete your work. Although the boy will not die here, for 1,000 years his dearest wish will be that he had.
For God's sake.
Do I look like someone who cares what God thinks?
I like the dynamic between Pinhead and Angelique, even though the fact that he somehow already knows her is a potential plot hole, since he didn't come into existence until the 1920s, and she is shown to have existed long before that, and then been away for a while, and then come back in the modern day. Really, it only makes sense if you subscribe to the theory that Pinhead is a timeless entity who has gone through various physical incarnations, and Captain Elliot Spencer is simply one of those incarnations. Come to think of it, that would explain why he looks and sounds different in Revelations and Judgment, even though those movies are canon with these movies. And that would also make the new movie canon, rather than a reboot, and Jamie Clayton is just playing the latest incarnation of the Hell Priest. This is at least a fairly well-made movie, and there's enough entertaining stuff going on here that I can enjoy it, even though it's not good. The music is on point, as usual, and the practical effects are great. My score is 2.5 out of 5. Number 4 is Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth. This one is in the same boat as Bloodline for me. It's not good, but it's entertaining, and I actually enjoy watching it. I like the story. I like that we get Pinhead separated from Captain Elliot Spencer, like they have now become two separate entities, so now we have Pinhead who's just being straight up evil because he lacks his humanity or whatever. I don't know, it's interesting.
Shall we begin?
As for the new Cenobites, I have mixed feelings. I'm not really a huge fan of their designs, but I can appreciate what they're going for, and the practical effects are on point. The acting is pretty solid, cinematography and editing are pretty good, the music is good, the writing is decent enough. Doug Bradley's great, as usual. He's like this franchise's version of Tobin Bell. They were lucky to get him for the first movie, and he's basically carrying some of these later movies. My score is 2.5 out of 5. Number 3 is Hellbound Hellraiser 2. I feel like this one gets a bit of a bad rap compared to the original, because a lot of the complaints against this movie are also true of the original. I like that this movie pulls a Halloween 2 and picks up right where the first movie left off. A lot of the cast and crew return for this movie, and they do a very good job of making it feel like the second part of one long story. The acting is good, the cinematography and editing are on point, and the music is great. The writing is solid, and I love the reveal of Kirsty's subterfuge in the climax. That was pretty awesome. The best thing about this movie is that it feels very different from the original in terms of tone and scope, yet it still feels like the second part of one long story.
Such a shame.
No more delays, Kirsty. No more teasing. Time to play.
Time to play.
Wait.
No more deals, Kirsty. It is your flesh we want to experience, not your skill at bargaining.
No deals. Just information. Just information!
Go on. But trick us again, child. And your suffering will be legendary, even in hell. What is this? Someone else, you think, escaped us? Like Frank?
No, this one didn't escape. And it's you!
Nonsense.
It's you! You haven't always been this way. You were human.
My score is 3.5 out of 5. Alright, here we go. My number 2 is Hellraiser, 1987. As much as I like this movie, I don't love it. It's good, it's very good, but it's not great. Like I said, it has many of the same problems as Hellbound. For example, the pacing is uneven and the plot is kind of all over the place. On top of that, there are really only two likable characters, Kirsty and her father. And he gets killed off pretty early on, so that just leaves her. I kind of wish we had gotten more of the Cenobites before the climax. I understand the in-universe reasons for why we didn't, but it still would have been nice to have more characters interact with them instead of just having Frank be the sole recipient of their torture. The acting is mostly really good, the music is fantastic, the practical effects are great. I can watch people get decapitated, gutted, shot, ripped in half, what have you, but the simple shot of Larry cutting his hand on the nail just gets me every time. I mean, I know why. It's because the practical effects are great, and it's the kind of injury that people can actually relate to, as opposed to getting decapitated, gutted, ripped in half, what have you. Clive Barker has only directed a handful of movies, but he definitely has the potential to be a great director. It's a shame he hasn't directed more stuff. I'm not a fan of The Engineer, or whatever the fuck that thing is, but otherwise, I love the Cenobites. I love the designs, I love the portrayals, they look great.
The box. You opened it. We came.
It's just a puzzle box!
Oh no. It is a means to summon us.
Who are you?
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some. Angels to others.
It was a mistake! I didn't mean to open it! It was a mistake! You can...
We can't. Not alone. You solved the box. We came. Now you must come with us. Taste our pleasures.
Please, go away and leave me alone.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Wait, please wait.
No time for argument.
You've done this before, right?
Many, many times.
To a man called Frank Cotton.
Oh, yes.
He escaped you.
Nobody escapes us.
He did. I've seen him.
Impossible.
He's alive.
Supposing he had escaped us. What has that to do with you?
I can lead you to him, and you can take him back instead of me.
Perhaps we prefer you.
Like I said, the plot is kind of uneven and a little all over the place, but I like the build-up we get, and the climax is mostly solid, but I feel like the Cenobites get defeated a little too easily. My score is 3.5 out of 5. Finally, my number 1 is Hellraiser 2022. Transphobes love to complain about this movie's casting for the priest, which is funny, because it's actually more faithful to the novella than the original. In the novella, The Hellbound Heart, the High Priest, or Pinhead, is an ambiguously gendered Cenobite whose only clue to their gender was a feminine voice. Jamie Clayton absolutely kills it as the pinheaded priest, and her semi-deep voice is just absolutely perfect for this otherworldly entity.
What are you?
Explorers in the further regions of experience. Of sensations rim.
The Cenobites' designs are sleeker and more polished than they were in past movies, and on the one hand, you could view that as the result of inferior practical effects, but I actually like it because it gives more plausibility to Pinhead's claim that the Cenobites are angels to some, demons to others. A lot of movies like this have a moment where a character is taken away by supernatural beings, they are taken away from this world into some other realm, and we almost always get to see it from the point of view of the other characters. Either the person simply disappears, or you don't even see it, and it just cuts back to where they were, and they're gone. Well, in this movie, they show us that from the point of view of the person being taken. And oh my god, I love it so much. It's honestly pretty haunting to watch. The main reason I prefer this movie over the original is the characters. In pretty much the entire original series, the only characters I actually considered likable were Kirsty and her father. Or at least they're the only characters that I remember liking. There might have been some others that I have completely forgotten because they weren't well written. Not all the characters in this movie are likable, but they all feel like real people because the writers took the time to write them as such. And really, most of the characters are likable. There's a handful who aren't. When the main characters start to die off, I actually felt sad because I had come to care about them. Which is, how you should do a horror movie. It's okay to have one or two characters who are unlikable and the audience cheers when they die, but you also gotta have some characters who the audience doesn't want to die and will be sad if they do. Riley loses her brother early on thanks to the goddamn puzzle box, and she spends most of the rest of the movie trying to figure out what happened and trying to get him back. And the fact that we care about them makes it all the more impactful when she finally accepts that she's never going to be able to get him back. At least, not as he was. On that note, I love this movie's climax, especially considering the themes of addiction and desperation. Riley realizes that even if she gets her brother back, it won't be the same one she lost. He will have come back wrong. Because the Cenobites don't have the same view of what constitutes a reward as we do. Even if the Cenobites do bring him back, there's going to be something wrong with him. And we get to see that in one of her hallucinations or visions or whatever is going on in her brain. When she hugs him and his back has no skin, which is also a really good homage to the original. And yeah, I love that there's no big happy ending. Riley has to live with the knowledge that everything she did to bring her brother back was for nothing. She has to live with the guilt, knowing that her friends' deaths were completely in vain.
Lament, lore, Lauderant, liminal, Lazarus, Leviathan. What would you ask of us?
Riley. Riley, look at me. Take my hand. Take me home.
No. I've seen your rewards. I know my brother's gone. I don't want anything from you. Nothing.
Then you have chosen
A life of regret. Knowing everything you've done. Everyone you've hurt and lost.
Your suffering has barely begun.
You choose to live. To carry that weight. Bitter and brief. You have chosen the lament configuration.
That's... Considering this movie's themes of addiction, that's so poignant. I mean, I don't even do drugs. I'm pretty much clean as a whistle in that regard. But that still hit pretty close to home. Because I'd come to care about the characters. And yeah, that had an impact. That score is 4 out of 5. Hey everyone, what's your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe and all that. If you don't like the video, leave a comment telling me why, constructive criticism. And then subscribe so that when I can upload a new video, you can tell me why that one sucks. That's all for now. Stay safe in these crazy times.